I've been using the Samsung S10 Plus now since the past 10 months. This is a pretty long time to get to know the device intimately. This has been my daily used cell phone. To give it some context, prior to this I was using the OnePlus 6 and before that the iPhone 8 Plus and an S8 Plus. In all, I have used 4 generations of the Samsung Galaxy S phones, starting with the S6, the S7 Edge, the S8 Plus and now the S10 Plus. In fact, I still have with me the S6 and the S7 Edge. So I'm very familiar with the Samsung mobile operating system, nowadays known as the One UI. Even though I've been primarily an Android user since the past few years, I don't despise iOS. In fact, I own a MacBook Pro 15-inch as my main computer and an iPad Pro as a tablet for more mobile computing. The S10 Plus is one of those rare phones that gets almost everything right. With my iPhone 8 Plus, I enjoyed a couple of features for the first time that my previous phones didn't have. These were wireless charging and stereo speakers. I traded this phone for the agility and the speed of the OnePlus 6, but lost out on these two fantastic features. And when I got a car that had a wireless charging pad, I knew I had to upgrade. Another thing lacking from the OnePlus 6 was the waterproofing feature. So nowadays all flagship phones have wireless charging, they have stereo speakers, they have excellent cameras and are waterproof. So do you need to spend close to ₹1,00,000 or can you make do with your existing S10 Plus? Or perhaps buy the S10 Plus at a price much lower than the current flagships and closer to the mid-range phones? Let's find out. In terms of design, the first thing that strikes you when you hold this phone is its weight. It is feather light for its size, weighing in only at 175 grams with a fantastic 6.4-inch display. Compare that to my earlier iPhone 8 Plus that weighed 202 grams and had a 5.5-inch screen. Even the current iPhone 11 Pro Max is a heavyweight at 222 grams. What this means is that the S10 Plus is lighter than any of these phones, even with a slim case. Really makes it comfortable to use. Also, the curved screen makes it smaller than the screen size would suggest, so it's easy to hold and yet gives that big screen immersive experience. In prism white color, this phone looks beautiful, and although I keep it covered most of the time, the few times I do use the phone naked, it's a joy to hold, use and look at. Just be careful handling it without a case though, as such beautiful glass sandwiches are easy to break. I personally prefer the horizontal arrangement of cameras that this phone offers as opposed to the vertically aligned ones on the newer S20 series. However, I do acknowledge that when holding the phone in landscape mode like a camera, the vertical arrangement does offer the advantage of keeping all 3 lenses at the same level and also having a lesser chance of them being covered by your fingers. There is a hole punch cutout with dual selfie cameras in the screen. I've never found it distracting and prefer its position to that of some phones like the new OnePlus 8 Pro, which has it on the opposite side. That means it can be easily covered by your hand while holding in landscape mode. No such issues with the S10 Plus. The dual camera setup offers some bokeh in selfies and there is a slightly wider mode to accommodate more in the frame, but it barely makes a difference. The front-facing cameras can also record videos in 4K at 60 frames per second, so no compromises here. Samsung has been criticized in the past for softening your selfies, but it's not very pronounced with this phone. You do get a separate setting to achieve this if you like, but it can be adjusted according to your preferences. I've never had an issue with the selfie cameras on any of the S-line Samsung phones, and I continue to like what this front-facing camera produces. A nice trick is showing the camera your hand when taking a selfie, and it will click a picture for you in a couple of seconds. The back camera is the real stalwart here, or cameras should we say. You see, you get 3, a standard, extra wide and a zoom. All offer excellent image quality and very vibrant colors. I've never cared for reviews that say that the cameras are too rich with colors or oversaturated. To me, they're neither. In fact, they produce some of the most pleasing and eye-catchy photographs right out of the phone that are good to be shared straight to any social media site. The wide-angle camera truly offers a great option and is fantastic for indoor architecture shots. The S10 Plus is truly a 10 on 10 in terms of cameras, and you can wholeheartedly go ahead if this is of interest to you. Now, this is one of the first Samsung phones to offer an in-display fingerprint sensor. This uses ultrasonic technology that uses sound waves to identify the correct fingerprint. In actual practice, it is disappointing. Many a times you will need to hit it and hit it hard to get it to recognize your fingerprints, and it's frustrating to use. Nowhere near as fast as the optical sensors I had in the past, like the OnePlus 6 and the iPhone 8 Plus. At least you get the face unlock feature that is plenty quick, if nowhere near as secure. Now, coming to the display of this phone, Samsung makes the best mobile phone displays in the market. It even makes the displays for the iPhone, so that's testament enough to its prowess in this department. It's punchy, vibrant and HDR10 Plus compliant, so it's a joy to use under any circumstance. Perfect blacks and really vibrant colors. Movies look and sound really good on this phone, and I've used it on many flights to watch content, and it offers a fantastic viewing experience. You have the option of scaling down the resolution to Full HD or HD, but that's missing the point. I always use it and enjoy it in the 1440p mode, where the display is razor sharp. Sure, it doesn't have a 120Hz display and is limited to 60Hz, but this has never been an issue, and reading on this screen has always been a joy. I guess it's all relative. So now, the performance of this device. With the Exynos 9820 processor and 8GB of RAM, the S10 Plus flies through anything you throw at it. Switching between apps is almost instantaneous, and because of the large amount of RAM available, previously used apps remain in memory most of the time. This is especially nice as you can start working from where you left off. Even after a year, this phone has not slowed down. A big achievement for Samsung, as most older Samsung phones did suffer from this slowing down with age scenario. Following successive updates, they simply started to stutter and lag after a few months. None of that with this phone. In fact, I would put it up right there with the iPhones in this regard. And it's not as if I have not downloaded many apps to this device. Currently, there are 371 apps installed on it, and it remains butter smooth. I don't personally play games on this phone, but the ones I tried work very well. I do use some CCTV apps that are resource hogs, and even they don't pose a problem for this phone. They load smoothly and do not cause most of the other apps to be forced out of memory. Even 16 concurrent video streams run smoothly in these apps. The battery life on this phone has been strictly average. I cannot seem to get more than 5 or 5.5 hours of screen on time out of this device, and that too on a good day. Usually it's less than this, if the phone is used a lot with no thought given to battery life. I've read about Snapdragon variants getting considerably better battery life than the Exynos ones, but this variant has never been sold in India. Certainly dialing down the resolution produces better battery life, but I reserve this for the days I'm outdoors without access to a charger. In fact, on such days, I turn off the Bluetooth, Wi-Fi and location functions and turn on medium power saving mode. This usually means that most of the battery is left even by the evening, if not many phone calls have been made. But with a 4100 mAh battery, I had expected a better battery life out of this phone. And though better than before, it's still mostly disappointing. The device handles its core functionality of being a phone very well, with clear voice calls and all the premium extras like Wi-Fi calling on offer. As this is a dual VoLTE phone, both networks can access 4G signals at the same time. Switching data providers can be done on the fly, unlike my previous S8 Plus, which used to disconnect from the active data network and then find and connect to the other network, a process that used to take more than a minute. The data connection is very strong, and download speeds I have seen are usually better than most other devices I use. In terms of Wi-Fi, you get Wi-Fi 6, and that means with a 5 GHz network, you can enjoy the maximum speed your broadband connection can offer. I can get full speed on this device on my 250 Mbps Geo fiber connection, although I mostly stick to a 2.4 GHz network in interest of range around the house. In terms of sound output, the stereo speakers are very loud and sufficient for a mobile device. This phone also has a 3.5 mm headphone jack, and this is the last Samsung flagship phone to offer this. Admittedly, I use a pair of Jabra Elite 65T Bluetooth headphones nowadays, so do not use the headphone jack for this purpose. However, it comes in handy when recording audio using a microphone, without the use of an adapter. Generally, Samsung phones in the past produced disappointing sound from the headphone jack, but it's much better here. Nowhere near as loud as an iPhone, but still quite good. One UI offers a nice polished software experience these days and is uber customizable. From the way the display, fonts and themes look to custom applications for default apps, you can truly make this phone your own. Personally, I have the fonts a bit larger than default and stuck to the light theme. Dark theme can produce better battery life with AMOLED displays and is well worth turning on should you so desire. I've also set the excellent Microsoft SMS Organizer as the default SMS app that can sort messages and weed out spam. It also offers reminders for bill payments and shows bank and card balances based on SMSs received from the banks. I also use Google Chrome as my preferred browser and have hidden the Samsung Internet browser. I do like using Samsung's email app though, as I am primarily an Outlook user and this app is more polished than the Outlook email app. Truecaller helps me identify unknown callers, and the native built-in call recording in the phone app means I have the ability to record calls should I so desire. None of this is possible with an iPhone and are some of the reasons I prefer using an Android phone at the moment. Even if an iPhone would simplify the workflow and work seamlessly with my other devices. Also, the notifications in the S10 Plus are a lot more reliable than my previous OnePlus 6 that wouldn't show notifications reliably from some applications. This is just the tip of the iceberg, and there are tons of customizations available with this phone. Software updates are slower than Google's Pixel and OnePlus phone, but they do arrive, and to be honest, this does not affect my daily usage, so it's not a point I pay much emphasis to. So, overall, the S10 Plus is a fantastic device that is a very well-rounded and capable phone. Even in 2020, and after the release of its successor, it makes a strong case for itself. There is absolutely no need to upgrade if you have this phone already, and you should hold out for the next S-line phone that comes out next year. If you get a good deal on this phone, it's well worth buying over mid-range phones and other flagship challengers such as the OnePlus 8 Pro. You will get a much more polished software experience and cameras that are up there with the best of them. In fact, if this device had slightly better battery life and a more reliable fingerprint scanner, it would come close to perfection in a smartphone. Its half-baked successor that offers a 120Hz refresh rate but not at full resolution has its work cut out to convince satisfied owners like me to upgrade. Even though I cannot recommend buying the S10 Plus at close to full price now in 2020, if and when the price drops further, it will still make an excellent new purchase. And if you're careful, you can pick up a used one in mint condition for a fraction of the original price. Quite simply, few phones come close. Thanks for watching, and please consider subscribing if you liked this video to get notified of my future uploads.